Okay, everyone, welcome back. Let's continue. Part 7, UFOs, Aliens, Fallen Angels. The truth comes out. In this series, we're looking at information provided to me by a person we're simply going to come to know as the source who told me. Tell it to the people. We left off looking at exactly what is in these chemtrails. Now, let me give you some advice. While you still have the internet, the world at your fingertips, before that's taken away from you. Don't just look up in the sky and say, I wonder what's in the chemtrails and how they're crisscrossing the sky. And I know a lot of you have seen a plane that kind of looks sometimes like a rocket or a missile going straight up. Be informed. Educate yourself. Do your homework. What's going on is very evil. We're going to take a look at, continue to look at chemtrails, Project Bluebeam, Harp, and the real evil hidden agenda. Now, what I'm about to bring you comes from the source. It's very small print, so bear with me. Having a hard time to see it. This will give you a better understanding of the whole reason for them spraying the chemtrails. According to my sources, the President's National Science Advisor has approved going forward with the U.S.'s part in the worldwide program. The chemtrail spray's ultimate goal is not to poison the population, and I don't really believe that. I can't see them wasting a good opportunity. Talk about killing two birds with one stone. How about 5,000 birds in BB, Arkansas? How about fish washing ashore dead? How about people? Talk about population control. We already know there's fluoride in our drinking water. We're aware of that. You think the bottled water you're buying is safe? You brush your teeth this morning, you use fluoride toothpaste. You may not be able to watch this series. You might have to save it and come back because you got to run out and get your flu shot. You might have to hurry up and get your kids in school, get their inoculations caught up to date, childhood immunizations. I could go on and on and on. This is an evil, evil, dark world, and we're going to try to uncover some truth here. Let me continue. Although some flocks of birds have accidentally flown into the trails and the result ended up on the ground, numerous people have already guessed partially what the plan is, or there are others who have been told. I didn't think it was feasible to me when I heard others tell what it was for. But, okay, pay close attention. It is to create a density of aerosols in the air, stratosphere, or even lower hemisphere. It can be sprayed near the ground as well, or lower in the air to create any kind of three-dimensional effect that one might wish to create by shining a ground-based or flight-based light source into it with whatever shape is desired by mounting the light source around or placing a prepared shape over the top of the light source. Drones, we all know about the drone that went down in Iran recently, and they don't want to give it up. They are looking at that. Built in the U.S. and other countries have been sold to individuals and governments to set up the program. Very interesting. I hope you're following me so far. For instance, the light show in the Russian sky with a tiny orb of light in the middle, I don't know if you remember this, and the changing halo of misty particulated light surrounding it is a prime example of a person projecting the light source from the ground after chem sprays to diffuse the light. The particulates sprayed in the air stay for a long time and are dispensed in a specific pattern. They are incandescent. They glow in the dark, depending on the particular mix. Bear with me. Sometimes quite a while after the light source has been darkened. Another way to create a light show that is freaky to the untrained eye is to fly a light source, light pattern drone in a lenticular cloud, often mistaken for a UFO because of its shape, such as in the picture attached. I have no way of showing you the picture right now. And simply turn the lights on because the chemical particulates are now already in the air. The fluorescence rather is amazing, and you can create any effect with the cloud as long as it stays or wherever it goes, because the drones are remote controlled. When you are finished with your presentation, you merely turn out the lights and fly out in the dark unseen, or in the daylight, usually unseen. They have been caught on video doing this. My. Now, that gives you a little different picture of why the chemtrails are out there. I believe, but you can't help but know these chemicals are poisoning the population. And a lot of people are stuck there. They're trying to kill us. It's population control. But the hidden agenda is more than one agenda. There's more to it than you could even imagine. That's where did the technology come from? Let's uncover the truth. I'm going to play a series of videos for you. Bear with me. And we'll discuss this. This is what the person we have come to know and love as the source. This is the information. They want me to tell it to the people. Okay. All right. You will have these videos in the description box below, but let me play the audio just so you can get a listen. And hopefully, there we go.
Canadian government official is warning we may be on the verge of intergalactic war, saying, quote, the Bush administration has finally agreed to let the military build a forward base on the moon, which will put them in a better position to keep track of the comings and goings of visitors from space, and to shoot at them if they so decide.
I was introduced to the late Dr. Werner von Braun in the U.S., the father of rocketry. In my first meeting with him, during that first 3.5 hours, he said to me, Carol, you will stop the weaponization of space, because there is a lie being told to everyone that the weaponization of space is now first being based upon the evil empire, the Russians. There are many enemies, he said, against whom we're going to build this space-based weapon system. The first of whom was the Russians, which was existing at that time. Then there would be terrorists. Then there would be third world countries. Now we call them rogue nations or nations of concern. Then there would be asteroids. And then he would repeat to me over and over. And the last card, the last card, the last card would be the extraterrestrial threat.
The extraterrestrial threat. Wouldn't that be something for the government to pull off, to make people believe we are being visited and under attack by beings from another planet? We're not talking about a fallen angel now, or interdimensional being. We're talking about aliens, extraterrestrial, that come from another faraway galaxy or a star. Now, just think about it. What better way to hide the truth of what these things really are and make you believe they're coming from another planet? But let's carry on.
Pardon me, I don't mean to interrupt you, but doesn't this make sense? I mean, if in fact there are extraterrestrials and they're buzzing our planet, why wouldn't we want to take steps to defend ourselves from them?
This is all on Project Bluebeam.
The rapture is one of the most controversial topics in all of theology. Some Christians believe in it, all atheists mock it, and the New World Order may very well attempt to fake it. What would discourage Christians more than seeing New Agers, Buddhists, cult leaders, and corrupt con artist Christians raptured, while the Bible-believing faithful are, in essence, left behind? Why wouldn't the New World Order attempt to unite all the world's religions behind one deity by including them all in such an apocalyptic event? Surprisingly, the U.S. government actually admits to thinking about the use of this technology, though it denies it's followed through with such implementation. In an article entitled Bees on the Battlefield and Other U.S. Military Experiments, published by the British news agency The Guardian on June 18, 2007, it discusses strange government projects, and I quote, "Then there's the prophet hologram, the projection of the image of an ancient god over an enemy capital, whose public communications have been seized and used against it in a massive psychological operation. An Israeli cybernetics expert named Yitzhak Ayutman has even gone as far as to lobby the Arab world to allow him to project a holographic temple above the Dome of the Rock in an effort to summon whichever savior should take notice of it and actually show up.
What better way to discredit the Christians? It's in our living word that we will be persecuted for his namesake than to have some other false god, Allah, or who knows, Buddha, to appear. And remember the mysterious light over the Dome of the Rock. Let me go on.
Does it even matter? Does this technology even exist? Or is it just crazy conspiracy theory? Let's take a look at the Army Research Lab Delphi, Maryland's progress report from November 96 through August 97. The session number ADA 3338490. The topic? A 3D holographic display using strontium barium niobate. Its abstract states, an innovative
Barium. Now that's one ingredient in the chemtrails. If you remember, if you go back to part 6.
technique for generating a three-dimensional holographic display using strontium barium niobate is discussed. The resultant image is a hologram that can be viewed in real time over a wide perspective or field of view. The holographic image is free from system-induced aberrations and has a uniform high quality over the entire field of view. Interesting. We've seen the chemtrails, and there's a lot of speculation about what they're being used for. Weather control and mind control are at the top of the list. As you'll see in a second, chemtrails have been directly linked to barium, which is one of the main components of the Army's 3D holography display.
Could a strange substance found by a Southwest Arkansas man be part of a government test? Well, that's the question at the heart of a phenomenon called chemtrails, now getting widespread attention. Well, tonight, KSL News 12 investigation reporter Jeff Farrell shows us the result of testing we had done about what's in our skies.
It seemed like some mornings it was just crisscrossing the whole sky. It was just like a giant checkerboard.
Bill Nichols snapped several photos of the strange clouds from his home in Stamps, Arkansas. They begin as normal contrails from a jet engine, but do not fade away like a normal contrail. Soon after, he saw particles in the air.
Because we'd see it drop to the ground in a haze.
Nichols then noticed the material collecting on the ground.
This is water and stuff that I collected in bowls. I had it set out in my backyard on my dad's pickup truck.
KSLA News 12 had the sample tested at a lab. The results? A high level of barium, 6.8 parts per million, more than 3 times the toxic level set by the EPA.
According to Section 5.6 of a military research paper entitled An Operational Analysis for Air Force 2025, an application of value-focused thinking to future air and space capabilities, military brainstorming as of May 1996 was researching, constructing, yet again, another holographic projection system. This time they were looking to implement an airborne holographic projector that would display a three-dimensional visual image in a desired location removed from the display generator. The projector can be used for psychological operations and strategic perception management. It is also useful for optical deception. The picture you see here speaks for itself. This isn't depicted as a ground-based weapon, but rather one that would project a deceptive image hologram in the air. Could the chemtrails play a role in this? I'm no scientist, so I can't tell you absolutely yes or even maybe. But the chemical connection, barium, along with the military's own documents, lead me to think in that direction. But if they've got some kind of crazy projection system, that in and of itself isn't going to convince anyone of anything. Unless, of course, God is a mute and he's going to come in complete silence. Let's face it, even the most action-packed movies are boring without some kind of a stunning soundtrack. Well, just in time for it to be exploited in the very same way, the technology now exists to beam sound right into your head. Strategy.com reports in an article entitled death ray replaced by the voice of God, that the U.S. Navy is using non-lethal systems called LRAD, or Long-Range Acoustic Device. This is being used right now in the Persian Gulf. Many small fishing and cargo boats ply these waters, and it's often hard to get the attention of the crews. With LRAD, you just aim it at a member of the crew and have an interpreter speak to the sailor. It was noted that the guy on the receiving end was sometimes terrified, even as he realized it was a large American destroyer that was talking to him. This apparently gave the Army guys some ideas, for there are now rumors in Iraq of a devilish American weapon that makes people believe they are hearing voices in their heads. And then there's the A&E television series called Paranormal State.
Remember that?
Which used a clever combination of a large billboard and cutting-edge technology to beam frightening ads directly into people who were walking near the show's billboard in the heart of New York City. The advertising website, MediaBuyerPlanner.com, writes in an article entitled "Billboard Whispers into Pedestrians' Ears for A&E's Paranormal State" that an ad for A&E's ghost-themed series Paranormal State uses technology to transmit an audio spotlight from the rooftop speakers in New York's Soho directly into the ears of passers-by. Here's a sample showcasing how this concentrated sonic beam works.
I'm going to put this link. It's going to be in the description box, and you need to see this. You need to. This actually happened. This is an event that actually happened, and we were talking in part 6 about subliminal messages. We all know about that at the movie theater and on your television. This is real. This is real, and this is what technology, where it has brought us today. Don't be deceived. We're going to uncover the hidden agenda. Listen closely.
It's not your imagination.
There are literally dozens of patents dealing with ways of beaming sonic transmissions directly into people's minds. This was once called telepathy. Today it's just modern-day technology and advertising. Yes, I understand this sounds absolutely bizarre. Where's the proof? Where is it? We've recently seen Al Gore and Prince Charles appear in holographic form. But do we actually know of any such encounter we can attribute holographic technology as to having been used as part of a supernatural psyop? I believe we do.
Now, do you see the connection? And we're talking about mind control. Project Bluebeam is dependent. A lot of these government hidden agendas that you aren't even aware of, just heard the name Bluebeam, is dependent on these chemtrails. And yes, it serves a great more than just Project Bluebeam. Population control, mind control. All this stuff, dear friends, is very real. And it's very demonic. Let me, bear with me a moment. I'm going to try to cover as much as I can. Let's go on and take a look at Harp for a moment, if we can. Let's see. Bear with me. And I want to just forward this up a little bit to maybe, bear with me, I'm not really a technical guy. We'll catch this.
For the first time actually said there are newly developed techniques and operations that contributed to the lowering of violence. People I talk to say it's the prime factor. Other people say no, it's secondary.
Lowering the violence, we're talking about Harp now, to where we have the technology given. Now, I'm not saying it's from a little green man in a spacesuit rather, from a planet Zoltar or somewhere. I'm talking about a dark side, another interdimensional being from another realm, the technology. We're going to cover this. But population control, controlling the masses. We see the uprisings in the Middle East. Everyone is one government after another. We're in the Middle East rather than being on our own home front. But Egypt, we've seen it all what's going on in the Middle East. People, governments being overthrown, leaders being taken off of their throne, so to speak. We've got everyone occupy Wall Street. Let me continue, just so you're getting an idea of what I'm trying to tell you here.
Clearly, there's a convergence of factors here, but to go around and say the surge created the conditions of less violence and stability all by itself is not complete.
Now, what are these new techniques? What can you tell us? Because of national security, you're not going to say specifically what they are. Can you categorize what kind of developments these are that you believe, that you report, have led to a reduction in violence and a greater ability to go after Al-Qaeda in Iraq?
It's a big deal. You think about the Manhattan Project in World War II, developing the atomic bomb. It was all secret. All of a sudden, 2 bombs are dropped in Japan, and it's the end of the war. These techniques and operations you're not going to see or hear, but they are lethal and effective. I know a lot of the details about it. A 4-star general I went and talked to about this, the blood literally drained from his face, and he didn't make a request.
Because he knew about it.
Yes.
That's why he was so shocked.
And he did not make a request that it be withheld. He said, you cannot write about this. And when you look at the details and the nature of the operations, he and others are right. But
is this one weapon system, or is this a matrix of new developments?
I'm just, the White House said it very much the way I said it, new techniques and operations.
New techniques and operations that you compare to the magnitude of the atomic bomb, the Manhattan Project.
Yeah, it's a game changer. It is the sort of thing that has allowed, if you look at the data on the drop in violence, there's a ski slope, literally, when violence goes down in the summer last year, 2007. This is when the surge forces are getting there, but that's when these techniques and operations are taking place. And I quote some people saying 85 to 90% of the actionable intelligence comes from these techniques and operations.
The Air Force denies it's working on it. But patent number 6470214, issued on October 22nd, 2002, says otherwise. The patent title, Method and Device for Implementing the Radio Frequency Hearing Effect. Patent holder, the U.S. Air Force. Documents surrounding the development of this secret weapon are classified. But what is known is that microwaves carry energy. When a microwave pulse is absorbed by our body, this energy is converted to heat, causing the tissue to expand slightly and then contract when it cools. If the microwave were aimed at our head, this expansion and contraction would be heard as a clicking sound that could be encoded into words.
With that sort of technology, you could give someone an instruction, or you could perhaps make them think they were going mad. And it quite clearly talks about the military applications of this technology.
Is patent number 6470214 a top secret mind control weapon? According to this passage in the patent documents, this device can beam energy waves that can be, quote, converted to nerve signals which are sent to the brain, thereby enabling intelligible speech to be perceived by the brain. The result, the person hears voices that aren't there. much like the voices reportedly heard by targeted individuals. If this mind-control weapon exists, could this technology be deployed on a mass scale? There's speculation that the government already has.
He who controls the thoughts of the people controls the world. Historically speaking, warfare has been about territory. The future may be the battle for the mind.
Is that battle to control minds already being waged on a mass scale? Disturbing questions have been raised about a U.S. government program known as Harp.
Harp is the high-frequency active auroral research project. It was developed initially by the Navy and Air Force back in the 1980s. But essentially, it was to modify or alter the ionosphere, a layer that begins about 30 miles above the Earth's surface.
Harp is a bank of 180 antennas, each as tall as a 7-story building, erected near Gakona, Alaska. The antennas emit extremely low-frequency waves, also known as ELF waves, into the upper atmosphere, which bounce back to Earth and allegedly provide advanced data for studying weather patterns. Researchers like Nick Begich and even some scientists speculate Harp is being used as a weapon against our enemies to create severe storms, hurricanes, even earthquakes, all part of a covert weather warfare program. But Harp has also been linked to mind control.
There are many people who believe that systems such as Harp, which the US government says is about researching the ionosphere and the effects that it has on communication systems. But a lot of people don't believe that. They think that's a cover story, and they think that what this is really all about is behavior modification and mind control.
You'd have a signal that would hit the ionosphere, begin to pulse the energy into the ionosphere, and the ionosphere, this layer, would begin to pulse back. So it changes it from a direct current to an alternating current, sending back to the Earth in the ELF range, extremely low frequency range of 1 to 20 hertz. Those same frequencies, 1 to 20 hertz, happen to correlate with predominant brain frequencies in human beings.
There is scientific data to back up claims that ELF waves can affect human behavior. During the 1960s and 1970s, Dr. Andrea Buharic studied the impact ELF waves have on the brain. What he discovered was shocking. Dr. Buharic found that a 6.6 hertz ELF wave could cause depression. A 7.83 hertz ELF wave made a person feel good, producing an altered state. And a 10.80 hertz ELF wave could trigger riotous behavior. His findings were loudly dismissed as foolishness by U.S. military leaders. But secretly, Black Ops mind control projects using ELF waves were being discussed at the highest levels of government.
We can do things in our brain. We know the capabilities there, the information necessary to make these big leaps in and of themselves. Can I use this negatively? Can I use it to harm people? Absolutely.
President Lyndon B. Johnson had on his board of science advisors geophysicist J.F. McDonald, who wrote that by using accurately timed, artificially excited electronic strokes, quote, one could develop a system that would seriously impair the brain performance of very large populations in selected regions over an extended period.
If you go back to the work of Lord J.F. McDonald in the 1970s, you'll find that he was talking about being able to modulate a signal in the ionosphere that would be able to return a signal that the human body would couple with, would lock onto, and begin to follow in a manner that would change the emotional state of people over a large geographic area.
Does Harp fulfill McDonald's prophecy? Has the day of mass mind control arrived?
For those people that believe Harp is about mind control, the implications are immense. This isn't just about influencing the behavior of one or two individuals. If it can be done on such a scale, you could effectively control the minds of entire populations.
The military potential of mind control is obvious. Enemies could be intimidated or be made passive without a shot being fired. The argument is that this would always be preferable to war. But could this technology be used to create a better world? It may depend on one's definition of better.
Imagine controlling people's behavior so that you could stop them being aggressive. There's a sort of utopian vision, perhaps, of world peace. And on the face of it, that sounds a good thing. But if that's not our natural behavior, I think we stop being human if we're subjected to this. We become little more than lab rats running around a wheel.
The barrier between science and science fiction is all but evaporated. Technology is neutral. In the end, it is the application, it is the intent of the user that determines whether technology is used for good or evil.
I think the future is a place where mind control will exist. I can only hope that it will be in the hands of the right people and that it will be regulated so tightly that it can't be abused.
NDAA. SOPA. Question mark? I've seen this movie before. That's what it's saying on the screen.
In order to effect a timely halt to deteriorating conditions and to ensure the common good, a state of emergency is declared for these territories by decree of Lord Cutler Beckett, duly appointed representative of His Majesty the King. By decree, according to martial law, the following statutes are temporarily amended. Right to assembly, suspended. Right to habeas corpus, suspended. Right to legal counsel, suspended. Right to verdict by a jury of peers, suspended. By decree, all persons found guilty of piracy, or aiding a person convicted of piracy, or associating with a person convicted of piracy, shall be sentenced to hang by the neck until death.
I'm going to put the link to this below in the description box for you. And to my friends that are, you may be religious in a sense, but you're looking at this as man's modern technology, Harp Project movie. There is a great mastermind behind all this. And if you are viewing this and you're an agnostic or an atheist and you just don't follow any religious belief, we're not that smart. We're not that intelligent. This technology comes from a far, far place, not in the outer reaches of space. It doesn't come from a little green man in a silver spacesuit in a flying disc. It comes from a far, darker place. Stay with me. We're going to continue. I know this is running a little bit longer, but here we are. I'm going to give you what our person known as the source has told me to tell it to the people. When we're done with this series, we're going to go to the researcher. Thousands and thousands and thousands of hours in research, so you know where this is coming from. The mastermind behind it all, that old red dragon, that serpent of old, that serpent, that reptile. Real quick before we leave, I want to cover as much as I can. And then we're going to get into the finale, the caller. Some more evidence of HARP testing is in Sicily clocks mysteriously jumped 15 to 20 minutes forward every day for weeks and weeks on end. There's a video there for you to watch. Let me see. It was announced by a speaker in the video in the last draft message. I gotta be careful what I tell you. That when we went into Iraq and Afghanistan and all the other Muslim countries, as well as non-descript countries, we invade or overthrow countries to get them all chipped. And we're going to get into microchips. I'm going to try to, and it's going on about, there's videos for you, there's more videos I'm going to put in the link in the description box to these videos. We hear the earth groaning and moaning, these unknown sources. It sounds like it's coming from the ground. And my dear friend, Believers Underground, you're on the right track. You are absolutely correct. We have to look at Harp, but there's a great mastermind behind everything we're seeing. This technology came from somewhere, and I'm going to show you, and hopefully at the end of the series. And if something happens, and some of us are gone, those that are left behind, you need this video. If you are saved and covered in the blood, you need this video. You need to know who your enemy is. You need to know who you're dealing with and what you're dealing with. We're going to get into a lot more in this series. Paranormal, we see people have seen ghosts and paranormal activity going on. There is another plane. We're sitting here on Earth, but there are other levels. Talk about seventh heaven. What about the fifth? What about the fourth, the third? We're going to find it all out. We're going to find out who and where this technology came from. And it's not good. It's not good, friends. Stay tuned. Leave comments, and God bless you. Stay safe.